Hey y'all, it's Molly with Design Loves Detail, and I have a fun video for you today because we are taking a look at some faux shady lady trees, which are all the rage. Check it out. Alrighty, maybe you already have a shady lady tree, but maybe you don't. I had been wanting one, and I bought a real one, which I promptly killed. And so then I proceeded to order 3 different trees in 3 different price points. And so today you get to explore those with me. But I am overall impressed. So where to begin? Well, let's start with the most affordable. It's right here. I'm actually going to put this guy together. This is from Amazon. And I guess while I'm getting this little guy ready, this is actually a 7-foot tree. So it's actually not that little. But shady lady trees are black olive. So they are different than your typical olive. They have a different leaf, a little more fine leaf. And I found that they are harder for companies to reproduce. Like they just, for some reason, have a harder time replicating them than they did. Like they've nailed the olive, the regular olive tree. But as far as the faux black olives, I wouldn't say they're exact. That doesn't mean that they're not to, by the way, this has just 2 arrows. Looks like these pieces slide together. And I will say that the other one, this tall one here, it came in 2 pieces as well. So with your faux trees, always, no matter what, fluff them. Like take some time. And because if you've ever gotten one and you're like, this does not look like the picture, or if an influencer posted it and you're like, this doesn't look right, it's probably because it hasn't been, judged. What's the word? I don't know. You know what they say, for fluffing things up? Juge it? Is that it? I don't think that's the word. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's fine. If you know the word, you can leave it in comments. All right, so I got this Amazon one put together. And I started with this one because it is the lowest price point. This one is $79 right now on Prime. So not a bad price at all. And you'll see it does have the smaller base. And that's kind of my biggest issue with faux trees, is that they usually have just a really small base. So you need to get a big pot to put them in to make it look more realistic, which I have a video on that. So check it out. It's kind of I think it's called faux tree styling. But overall, I feel like this is a pretty good bang for your buck. It's got a good height with it. And you'll kind of notice with this one, some of the defining characteristics of shady lady trees, though I believe this leaf is bigger than the real life shady lady black olive leaf. It does have the same shape. So it's got that rounded edge, and then it's got that other kind of defining characteristic where the greenery is it's almost runs horizontal and for a lot of the length of the tree. So rather than a typical olive tree that kind of grows up to the top and all the foliage is at the top, this one is kind of spaced out, and you'll see that on the other trees as well. So that is a pretty good option for that price point. Like I was saying, I'd put this in a bigger pot and kind of maybe build it up a little bit so you can make it look even taller. But I think that definitely has a good look to it, even if it's not the most realistic in terms of duplicating a black olive. So this is the Studio McGee and Threshold Target one. And this one I think looks really good. I made a reel on this. It was a big hit. And I like the leaf on it. I will say this is more like a traditional olive leaf. So that's kind of talking about how sometimes they have a hard time replicating the actual leaf of a certain tree. And while this isn't like the most accurate to the shady lady, it is, I think, a really good faux tree. So, and it does have, again, that kind of where the branches go even closer to the base of the tree. So definitely that one's good. And I do think they did a cute pot with it. Again, I don't think that it's the most believable, because if you're thinking about a real life tree, the roots of a tree this size would be far bigger than this. So that's why I like to go for the bigger pot or container, just to be able to provide a more realistic look. People might be fooled if you have a bigger pot with rocks in it and stuff. And actually, I think that it's worth mentioning too that the even though this is totally plastic, I feel like they've got a good color on this faux tree trunk. So that overall this one reads quite believable. And this price point is the medium. So this is $150, and part of that price is because they do a pot. So I actually, if I ever get a collection with Target or Walmart, yes, we're putting that into the universe. I'm gonna make trees that are actually with this, because even though, like I said, you need to do something with that, at least you're not paying the cost of having this when you're gonna potentially cover it to use something more realistic. So when I do my line, it will not have probably pots, unless we do big enough pots, but it's always the cost of doing a bigger pot is usually not viable because they have to hit certain price points with Target and Walmart. So doing as big of a pot as I want might be tricky, but we'll start, channeling some energy so we can make that happen in one way or another. Anyway, moving on to this guy. So this is my winner for most realistic Shady Lady black olive tree, because you can see how this has a more fine leaf and just really good detail that is realistic, believable, and you can even see that in the tree trunk. Isn't that wild how realistic they got the tree trunk? I was blown away when I received this tree. I couldn't believe how much they nailed it. And you can see this little seam right here. It's quite subtle, but that's where the two pieces come together. So this one did ship in 2 pieces, but again, just like really good. I have found like some little strings of hot glue on this that you have to pull off, but I figure that's kind of a minor issue. I really have been so happy with this. And this one is one where I put it in a big pot. This pot is a concrete one that's probably could use a little cleaning, but this was one that I found at Lowe's. So I'll link that for you guys. And I need to buy some more rocks, but I did what I typically do where we just put the tree in. And this one was good because it had the smaller weighted base, kind of like the Amazon one. And then just did some like packing materials, extra bubble wrap and things like that. But then a black plastic garbage bag, and then just rocks on top. So that, like I said, you can see in my other video, styling faux trees, that'll kind of give you an idea. And this one, I will say, this is the spendy splurge of all the options. It does have the most height, and it's so realistic that I do feel like it's worth it. It was around 600 and something. I couldn't actually see because it just sold out, so it wouldn't show me the price. But they do have it in other heights as well. So this is, I believe, the 9 foot. So you could get a little bit smaller one and not spend so much. But I highly recommend this tree if you want something, if you're willing to invest in something really realistic. This is the one to go with. Because this tree will like trick people, especially if you do it in a big pot. I actually want an even bigger pot, and I was gonna get one for my yard, but they're frozen to the ground. So that's what we got. I do like these. This is like real concrete, super heavy, really solid. So a good option for a planter. Anyway, so those are my top 3 Shady Lady trees that I found, and I'll probably, I wouldn't be surprised if I order more because I just like to investigate them. But let me know if you guys have questions or suggestions in comments, and thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow and like, and we will see you next time.